This is Lord Thaddeus Cray. What's this one going to be about? Well, it's about time I started getting back to cryptids, and that's what I plan on doing. This one is about Loch Ness. Not the loch itself, but of course the monster, Nessie. I'm going to be pretty straightforward with this one. There's not much really to say. I've always been fascinated by this one since I was a little boy. It's actually one of the first cryptids I really got into. Because, when I was a kid, I loved dinosaurs. So, it's kind of, speaks for itself. I believe it's adapted to definitely live in that cold water without too much of a hitch. You're probably wondering how the hell can a reptile, like a plesiosaur, live in something like that? Well, there's new research that seems to be pointing in the fact that that animal was actually warm-blooded. Yeah, like a bird or a mammal. You have to understand, reptiles, they can't regulate their own temperature. Unlike, mammals, of course, us, that speaks for itself. We're warm-blooded. We keep a fairly regular temperature no matter what, our environment. Of course, there's extremes which can cause other problems like hypothermia, or of course you can overheat, and, these things are, of course, fatal to anything. But for the most part, that has been what's allowed us to settle in so many environments, which, of course, reptiles cannot hope to do so. Mainly colder environments, colder climates. Birds, of course, the same thing. They're connected to reptiles, but they are warm-blooded, and their metabolism, I think, as usual, is actually higher than ours. They have to have a higher calorie intake. So that speaks kind of for dinosaurs as well. Now, I'm not sure exactly if Plesiosaurus was a reptile. I believe it was definitely under that. So whatever it is possibly warm-blooded. And I do believe that Nessie could have been a variant of such an animal. As I said before in the video about Moklemimbe, animals like this usually will adapt to their environment, of course. Most likely it's shrunk. And, of course, we've pretty much adapted to hide in that area without being discovered. I've said that, of course, many times. I think it's very similar with Nessie. I'm not going to say its size changed too much, but possibly it may have adapted to live further underwater, because that loch is very deep, if I remember right. Also, may have evolved blowholes on the top of his head, so it can actually stay submerged for a very prolonged period of time. Similar to that of a whale or even a crocodile, of course. His nostrils are on top of his snout, and can stay submerged, like his eyes are on top of his head. Something like that. I don't know. There's a possibility it may not be a plesiosaur at all. Actually, probably a probability, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something that is not the norm, obviously. Do I believe this creature exists? Very possibly. It might be extinct by now due to overfishing and, of course, unwanted attention. They may have actually driven it away, but the fact is there's still sightings of this thing. Not as there used to be, but there's still something going on. And if it was a plesiosaur, it would have been able to come on land. To either lay its eggs, most likely, or, because it would have to. Or you could simply got on land like a sea turtle and gone to another body of water. Now, I'm not sure really much of the layout of that area, but there have been discussions of that. I also have to think about this. There have been sightings of aquatic. Of course, I've done a video on cryptids that were supposedly the merfolk. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more animal type. Aquatic cryptids like this have been sighted in fresh bodies of water, swampland, all over the world. It's not just in Scotland. Hell, here in the USA, this country has, I think, dozens of such local legends of such creatures. Something to think about, there's just something going on. I do believe there's some kind of undiscovered animal that we, maybe known about, but not released to the public, that definitely exists. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's very possible the discovery of something like this, if it is a plesiosaur, will of course knock. This is one of those things where I think Lloyd Pye said religion and science are holding hands. Neither one will want their narrative, to basically be changed, and they're both found lacking. And I definitely believe that's the case with something like this. So, I do believe very firmly that some kind of creature, maybe a multiple number of species that we haven't found yet, are pretty much just waiting to be found. And I believe very firmly in the next, I would say, a few years, if not sooner than that, we'll be finding something out pretty quick, too. Of course, I didn't exactly expect these last 2 years to have been something out of a bad sci-fi movie either. Just going to leave it at that. Overfishing, of course, as well as encroaching is the right word. Intruding on their territory could have also caused them to retreat into more isolated areas. Who knows? But I do believe there is something in that water. I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys know what I do. I also want to go ahead and put some news out there. DDoS is out. And he is going to be part of the Dogman Cams project. You guys know what I do. I'm pretty much the guy that gets guests for both him and John Bell. I believe they're going to be working together. If you've had a cryptid sighting or a paranormal sighting, of course, you guys already know I'm also the producer for Chasing the Truth and the Vault of Nightmares. If you guys have had any kind of sighting of, whether it be supernatural, my ex-girlfriend, or a cryptid, if there's been anything like that going on, and you want the chance to tell your story, I'm going to tell you right now. I'll make sure you get that chance. My email personally is wesvic@dogmancams.com. John's, if you want to reach him directly, is support@dogmancams.com. And DDoS is, I believe, DEEDOSS @dogmancams.com. If you want the chance to talk with Sean directly, his email is SeanG, SHAWNG, at IamDarkWaters.com. And that should just kind of lay that out for you. You guys know what I do, as I said. I'm willing and more than wanting to give you that chance. You be blessed and you be safe.